Hello, all. This is the Ring the Bell podcast. And yeah, I'm a new face today. Chris is got some stuff going on with his voice. So Jason Kent will be your host today. Hello and all. Welcome. We're at the looks like the last inning, 2 outs left, the bottom of the ninth, down to the last strike for this weekend series against the Nationals. And it has been one I think we can say has been pretty bad. I don't think we look good at really all. We've had the moments in Friday night's game and yesterday's game. We came out mashing after they really got shut out for the first few innings, and today the bats went cold once again. Bring in John, co-host John. John, what did you think of this series this weekend? Just watching today, man. I was texting you guys earlier, and I really felt Wheeler I blamed him early. And then after that first inning, he really locked it in today and gave up 2 hits the rest of the way. These bats just didn't come alive today. It was pathetic. It was abysmal. Turner, moved up to number 2 today, which I think we'll get to a little bit more later. Schwarber still looking bad. What an abysmal weekend series, I feel like.
Yeah, it starts off they came out hot on Friday night, and then third inning, they just put up 6 runs or whatever it is, and then all of a sudden the pitching just completely falls apart. Lorenzo fell apart, didn't look like the same guy the first 2 starts. And then we go to Saturday, and it's like, all right, awesome. Well, they're all clicking it on cylinder. Sanchez gives up his normal 2-3 runs, and the offense was hot on Saturday night, and then back to just nothing. The offense just couldn't do anything. And one thing about Wheeler I noticed is all year he's been struggling. And once he struggles, he's kind of done. He finally is building on getting better as the game goes on. That's what I kind of noticed him from Wheeler today, at least.
It was good to see him just after that bad inning. It was 4 runs. I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think all 4 were put up before we got our first out. So it was tough. I was a little more concerned with this offense today too, though. They're just not looking good. And really, outside of the big inning on Friday night, they didn't really look that great on Friday either. I think it was the big inning in the third, and then they had an opportunity late. I think they had the bases loaded in the 7th or 8th, but they just couldn't do anything. And this isn't the time of year that we really want to be playing this type of baseball. It really feels tough right now because I feel like we perpetuate the kind of Negadelphia thing and for the Phillies, but it just gets really frustrating when you have a team like Washington that you should beat, you should take 2 or 3 of. They really could have swept this weekend. They really should have. And they just fell apart. I feel like this is a huge opportunity missed, especially with the way the teams behind us are playing, because there's a lot of games. I think 3 teams outside that are all 1 game in. So it's a very close race. And I think all these games are very important, and a team like the Nationals, you just can't lose 2 or 3 of.
Yeah, you can't lose to the teams that you should be beating. You should at least winning two of the 3, not losing 2 of the 3. And I was expecting a sweep this weekend, and we didn't get that out of them. Bats went cold once again. Hopefully, they wake up tomorrow against the Giants, which is a huge series because I think they're now 2.5 games behind us, I believe.
I know they won today, so
yeah,
it really depends
today.
on what the Phillies do here.
And I'm especially with just this team in general. This lineup is so good, and it's with the 3rd highest paid team in baseball. They should be a lot better than they are offensively, and it just some days they're there and some days they're not. And it just seems like this lineup has a bunch of players who can either be really hot or they can be really cold, and you can't just get a consistent basis of all these players who are good at one time.
Yeah, and it really does feel like when they've gone cold, they've gone cold. I think a big issue here too. I know we did praise Wheeler. I tried to praise him a little bit after his terrible start, but it really feels like this team going down the stretch doesn't have that shutdown guy. A lot of these championship caliber teams that are in the running right now, Houston, Dodgers, Toronto, even they all feel like they have guys that can come out and give you that inning. Outside of Wheeler, and Wheeler even this year hasn't been that guy. I assume they're going to make the playoffs. At this point, do we feel they can really make damage because this pitching staff just doesn't look good, and the offense has really been hot or cold a lot recently?
Going back to last year when they made that run, that's when the offense finally, at the end of that season, they started clicking. They got very, very hot at the end of the season. That's the only way I see them making a run this year in the playoffs. I don't rely on not a single one of these pitchers that can. Ranger at times, I mean, he's out there, he's just serviceable, but he's not a bona fide ace. This team does not have a bona fide ace, and they haven't. I know Chris mentioned it earlier. They've had a bona fide ace since Doc was here. What was it, 2011? That was the last time really he was a true ace, and they don't. At times Nola showed it a little bit, and then at times Wheeler shows it too, and then just both of them are just completely lost at times this year, and it's not helping them out at all.
So I do want to touch on today's game. I think it's still going on right now. It's looks like there's still 2 outs left in the bottom of the 9th. So the Phillies did score a run. So you never know. It's a possibility. But today, I think the big move. There's 2 real big moves. First one, Marsh was back today. I just messaged Chris during the game. When you're watching him play center field, he still just looks abysmal. Like making routine fly balls out there just look tough. And then the other one I think was a big move. I want to get your thoughts. How do we feel about Trey Turner going back up to the 2-hole?
I just don't think he does. I know he's hit 2 home runs yesterday. He's hit 2 home runs. He's been hitting a lot of home runs the past week and a half since that standing ovation. But I don't think he's earned it yet because he really hasn't shown that he can be that guy all season. He's showing flashes that he's the guy we've paid, and then he just hasn't showed it at all this season where I can say he needs to go back to it. And Bone's been great all year long. He puts the ball in play all the time. He's a great guy. He always hits the ball the other way. So at least when Schwarber's on, he's going to hit the ball the other way and hopefully at least move Schwarber to second base. Turner just he hasn't done that all year. I feel like Schwarber gets on, it's a double play, and then Bryce either gets a hit or he gets out or something along those lines. And I just don't think it was the right time for him yet. I wanted him to get more confidence down in that 6-hole, and I like him down there at that. But
man, since the thing I've bashed, excluding tonight because I don't have that stat built in with this, but since August 4th, so it's about at 14 games, he's batting .370, an OBP of .414, slugging .704, OPS of 1.118. He does have 4 home runs, 12 RBIs in that time frame. Still striking out a lot, but this is the guy. I'm okay with it. My bigger issue is he's willing to make this move, but still not willing to take Schwarber out of the leadoff hole, which it's so sickening at this point. I understand, yes, the game 1 and game 2 of this series that he did go ahead and look okay, but he's batting 182. If you can move Turner around, go ahead.
That's the problem. He throws those 2 games where he hits 3 home runs in 2 games, and everybody's like, "Oh, Schwarber, let's go," and then he goes over 15 again. And it's like you can't. It's great. He gives you those 2 games. He cuts a couple home runs, drives in some runs, and then he's back to 0 for 15 again. It makes no sense why somebody who's hitting 180 is even on a major league roster to begin with, and he plays every single day. He's missed 1 game this year. It doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever.
So Jay Cave just hit a 2-run home run. We're down 1 in the bottom of the 9th. Down 1. Maybe we got to come back. Maybe we can do it. We can still take this series. Maybe we're getting a little too negative too fast. But I agree. I've been saying this since last year. I've been beating this drum. I know moving things around, and I was shocked. A player like Turner, who's been a professional hitter his whole career, wasn't. And I get Schwarber gives you the home runs, but Turner is a professional hitter, and you move him down to the 6-hole. I just can't get what the obsession is with the leadoff home run on the occasion that it happens. And yes, I get he does walk. I don't care. The guy bats 182, doesn't get on base. If he could bat I was going to say on base, but if he could give me 230, 240, that OBP, now I'm okay with the walks. Like you said, 180 is not a major league player. They got rid of the shift to help these players, and this guy is still striking out at an alarming rate, and I just don't get it. But to get back to the Turner, I'm okay with him being back there. I guess my point was you move Turner around, and a guy that's proven to be just a very great hitter throughout his career, but we can't get Schwarber out of there. His last at bat tonight struck out looking. I just don't get it, but I am okay with Turner getting back in that lineup. But they're just not looking right, except until the 9th inning. This whole weekend, I really feel like it's been in the story of 2 teams or 2 offenses, really. Like they're just struggling. And then when it turned on this weekend, it turned on. Does that concern you going down this stretch as well, where they just seem to get cold, but they can prove they have that one big inning? I think that's the key here.
That is concerning, but that's what gives me hope too at the same time. Like I know they'll be cold, but I know if they do get hot at that certain point, it's just they're Phillies end up losing 4-3. The comeback was almost on there. But I feel like if they're hot at the right moment, they that offense is unstoppable. But it's always if they're going to be hot. And my question to you is, where do you put Schwarber? Because he obviously he's not a real guy who drives and runs. You're going to put him at the 4 hole. You're going to put the 5 hole.
I've always been. I'm okay with him being in the 4 hole. When you hit 35 home runs, I think he still leads the team in RBIs, if I'm not mistaken. He leads them in every offensive statistical category from that. So I'm sorry, Nick does lead him in RBIs. Schwarber's tied. So Schwarber is tied for the lead. He's got 32 home runs. I still think you put him in that 4 hole. To me, that's where it plays best. Like you said, Bohm looked very comfortable up there. I think we have guys right now that are hitting well. Even Castellanos is a guy that could bat up there. I think you move Trey back to lead off, or move him to lead off, and then you do any combination of either Casty or Harper or Bohm and Harper and put Schwarber at the 4. I guess if you're really worried about lefty righty, you could try to move Harper to 2, but I do think Schwarber should be in that cleanup spot just because he hits home runs. You're wasting all those home runs. You're really wasting so many RBI opportunities for this guy.
Yeah, I understand that feeling. I mean, I would like to see at least Turner leading off at this point because I feel like he can still get on the base at the same rate that Schwarber's getting off, and I love seeing Bohm at 2. And I don't want to move Harper from 3 because if you can get Turner going and you can get Bohm going at the same time, when has Harper ever had guys on base for him? I feel like every time he has a home run opportunity, he's hitting a solo home run. I would love to see him finally get that. And I was hoping with Turner this year, we would have that opportunity where we were going to have people on base for Harper this year to drive and run. And it just seems like we're never going to get that. We're never going to see him driving in runs with people on base. It's just him getting on base and someone that has to hit him in.
So where are you putting Schwarber then? Where are you thinking?
I would put him 6 because he's more of a. I feel like 6 is another leadoff spot. So say you go in the first inning, you go 1 to 5. At least you get the 6 at the top of the second or bottom of the second. You have Schwarber leading off at 6, so it's still like a second leadoff spot in that built into the lineup. And he's still gonna get the opportunities there. I mean, Bohm is batting 6 most of the year, and he's up on the team leader in RBIs. I think he has 75 now at something along those lines. So he's been driving runs in the 6 hole spot. So he's still gonna get those same opportunities to hit home runs and drive and runs. I just don't want him having as many at bats, even if he's in the 4 hole.
So with that, do we know as well have they talked today with Marsh being back? I don't know if Chris had mentioned anything earlier. And I do see it was put in the chat a little bit ago. Is Marsh going to be the everyday center fielder now? Have we really talked about that? Or has it really been something that they think Marsh is going to handle that? And how would you play that? Because I do think watching Rojas play center field, this guy, he really looks like a Gold Glove center field bona fide stud out there. And the bat still has been playing, and he has a lot of speed. He makes up a lot of ground. I would totally keep him out there every day. Do you feel the same way with now that Marsh is back? Do we need to kind of back off on him and leave Rojas in that lineup every day?
That's what I thought was going to happen. And then the lineup came out today, and they had JK playing left field, and they had Marsh playing center field. I don't know what it is with the Phillies organization and playing young guys every single day. I don't get it, because even like Stott at the beginning of last year, I know Girardi was the manager at the time, but why was Stott not playing every single day? You're going to call this guy up just to only play against righties, and even times this year he's sitting them against lefties. It doesn't make much sense to me. They're young guys; they need to play every single day. So if Rojas is not going to play every single day, I don't see a reason for him to be on an MLB roster, because he needs to get his at bats and he needs to get better. The guy's only 22 years old. And I would love to see him play center field because he can lock that down. And with Marsh being so fast still, you can have him at least in left field, and Rojas can cheat over a little more right field because Castellanos isn't the greatest fielder, but it makes it a lot easier for Castellanos out there with him being in center field.
I'm 100% in agreement with you there. I think this is where Harper moving to first base has helped this team a lot now, because we can put Schwarber at that DH. And I think one thing that I was really concerned about last year too, and super concerned about this year is the defense. But now that if you can move Marsh over to left and have Rojas out there every day, I just think that it makes up a lot of ground, and that really helps, Casty not have to worry about much. It gives you a lot of speed in that outfield, and if Marsh can, whatever's wrong with him, if he can figure it out, he's a Gold Glove center fielder. Playing left field should be cake for him, and all that. So I think I would love to see that tandem in there every day. Is what I'm really thinking. It has to be. I don't understand. Jake Cave's not
And
anything
he's
special.
he's a glorified AAA player. You can plug him in here and there. He's not a guy you should be playing. Because he's left-handed, he's going to play most of the time anyways. He's just not a guy you should be playing almost every single day. I'd rather see a young 22-year-old than a 33-year-old out there who's already proved that he's not a everyday player. And the one thing that's going to bother me still is Harper going to play first base tomorrow is a question. Is they going to put Schwarber back out there again? Because I feel like that's what it's every other day. I mean, it's just why? Why do we have to continually watch this guy out there who lets bloop singles come in all the time that any other player in baseball is making that catch, and he can't go back, and you have to hold your breath every time he goes back towards that wall. Is he actually going to catch it, or is it going to go over his head? But
So the
I like
question
to see what they
here:
do.
Marsh left field, Rojo center, Casty right. I'm 100% okay with that if we go sign pitching, because Marsh's bat has really seemed to look good this year. If he can be a 280 hitter, I'm okay. You would like more power from the left field side, and he's not going to give you that. So I am nervous with that, because I guess if you're keeping a lot of it really depends on what Harper does, though. Is Harper do they move Harper every day to first base? I think this year, there's a play earlier in the game where he got a great stretch. The guy was safe, but he really looks like he's taken first base really well. And I know we've definitely had conversations about this, even before the Harper injury. Do you put him at DH every day? I think if you keep Schwarber on the team, no, but I would love to really see Harper at first every game.
But what about Reese? I feel like that's a thing. Like, are they going to re-sign Reese next year? Then what are you going to do with Harper? Then you have Schwarber. I feel like they're in a pickle for next season, especially with Rojas, how well he's played center field all year. Like, what are they going to do at that point? Are they going to
I
trade
know there's a
Rojas
lot of talk.
trade Rojas
Reese
in
is a free
offseason for a
agent, so
bat?
he's he doesn't, in my head, he's not playing into any scenario. Reese is a guy that I just don't think can come back. I know a lot of people would want him. A lot of it depends on the type of deal he wants, but I really think it depends on what they're looking at. Because he before this, he's probably a $20 to $25 million first baseman a year. And that's not something we have the luxury to afford right now, especially with losing Nola, and we need pitching very terribly. Another bat in this lineup. So I'd be okay. I would like to move Schwarber at some point. He's a guy I want to get out of here. I'm just tired of the inconsistency and the terrible defense. If he's a dude that can play DH every day, you put him in the 4-hole, I'm okay with that. This team can't do that. So I would love to see. I just don't think Reese comes back unless it's a short one-term deal.
Would Schwarber be a better player if he doesn't have to worry about the field all the time? Would he be a better hitter, at least like maybe a 230 hitter when he's not have to be stuck in the outfield all the time? Would he be a little bit better?
No, I don't think so. He's a career. I think he's a career 220 hitter anyway. He had that one stretch in Boston when he looked really good after the trade deadline. But the dude, he's a career 226 hitter in his 2 years in Philly so far. Though he's hitting 203 with an OBP of 325. I get we love the long ball, and I'm 100% behind it. I do think, and I feel bad because a lot of my hate for Schwarber comes from the way this organization plays him. And I just don't understand.
And praises him. They praise him so much, and he gets no backlash. Everybody else, when Harper's struggling, I guess Harper doesn't deserve this money. Nobody bashes this guy at all, and I don't understand why. Why isn't it like Turner Turner was getting bashed. You know what I mean?
Schwarberfest. He
Yeah,
hit a couple of home runs and he got some hoagies, and everybody loves him now.
I mean,
Oh, it's
the guy bats 115 in the month of May, and nothing was said at all. 115. That is absolutely horrendous. And it's like, oh, well, June's going to come around. Well, guess what? He had a mediocre June this year, so he didn't have a great June like everybody says he does. All these great Junes. He had a mediocre June this year, so let's knock that one out. We don't need to hear that anymore. When June comes around, he gets going.
But before we go to our next topic, I just want to say, John, it's been a pleasure just being me and you too, because this has been such a great Let's Bash Schwarber episode, and it's something I've been waiting like over a year to do. And my other co-hosts, they don't want to bash him. They think they don't want to bash him like I do.
Mean,
on
all
that.
my friends,
I hate him.
That is a bold-faced lie, by the way. Okay. All right. See, I don't have a voice, but I will come on when I know I'm being disrespected. Okay. I can't stand Kyle Schwarber any more than these guys. So I'm going to go back to my spot of producing, but great work, boys. Keep going.
But yeah, okay. So now that we've thoroughly ripped Kyle Schwarber in the leadoff, and after a very depressing week, I think we went 2-3. Not a good week. The good thing is, like I said earlier, a lot of the other teams are still struggling, that are in the wild card right behind us. So over the last 10, we're still 5-5. San Fran's now 2.5 back. They're 3-7 in their last 10. Chicago's playing the best. They're 6-4. Reds are 4-6. Marlins are 5-5. So our Diamondbacks have actually picked up at 7-3. So those are all the teams right there that still have a shot. The good thing is, like we've stated many times, the Phillies do hold really their destiny in their hands. They play a lot of these teams that are behind them, starting up with a 3-game series against San Fran, which is huge because, like I stated, they're 2.5 out. If I don't like coming into this week, that's why I was so upset with this series, because I really thought this was an opportunity to gain some ground on everyone else. But we really kind of crapped the bed. And the guy that I try my best to praise, and just give everything and really hope that he breaks out of his struggles, after I got ripped today for never ripping him, Mr. Aaron Nola does take the bump tomorrow night. So I'm so glad I get to see his services live. How do you see this series? Because we'll look at the one after, but coming up, this series against San Fran, how impactful is it? How important is it for them to really take 2 or 3 in the series?
This is an extremely important series because I think it's then that first wild card series. It's going to be those two teams facing off each other. So this is a playoff matchup right here. It's a preview of what you're going to see in that first round. It's just Gabe Kapler and his analytics. It terrifies me. What is Robert going to do this series to match with Kapler and all the analytics that they run over there? Because he might have all lefties in the lineup tomorrow or something along those lines that face Nola, or whatever Nola struggles at. They're going to be bunting. They're going to be doing something to make him uncomfortable on that mound. And what is Robert going to do to stop that? That's going to be all series. So it's going to be a big analytics series. Hopefully, we can do something where they just put that out of the water. That maybe the bats show up, whatever it's going to be. And I know Tuesday they have that Kyle. Was it Harrison making his major league debut? The left-handed
San
pitcher.
Fran?
Yeah, San Fran. So I mean, they have a guy making his debut. Make him as uncomfortable as possible. It's going to be something where I can see Thompson getting out coached this series, and that's why the Phillies lose this series. And they need to win two of the 3. They need to win. It's a must. It's a must win series. You can't lose 2 of 3 to these guys.
Here's the issue, and here's the one thing that bothers me. Like, and you said it yourself right there. They have, bringing up a rookie guy. They really need to get to him early. And today I felt, and I know we're harping back, but they faced a guy today that had a 5 ERA, and they really got shut down. So this is a lineup that sometimes I feel like they don't feast on that pitching they should. So it's very bothersome. Especially, I'm a little worried right now because I know I love Aaron Nola, but he just does not look good at all. And it's making me very nervous because he's a dude I really thought was going to come play great down the stretch. That's not looking good. Walker hasn't really looked that great. And then Lorenzen, I'm a little nervous. But I do think this is a key series because, like you said, we're 1-2 right now in the wild card. It really feels like when you look at the other teams, and as kind of bad as we've been talking, they really feel like they're going to make the playoffs. So playing a team that right there is 1 game behind you, or 2.5 games, you get a 3-game series. You take 3 games here. If you can sweep this series, now you're in a much better position going down the stretch. Because I think you don't want to be like you were last year, fighting to that last week of the last series of the year, really, against Houston, to clinch that playoff spot. So it is better right now. But I would love to see, and I feel like I've been saying it the last 6 or 7 starts for Aaron Nola. I would really love to see a big start tomorrow night. Because I've said this 18 times in a row now. This could be a jumping off point for him if he plays well. And I've said it, I think, every podcast so far. But I really feel he needs to have a great game this week. He needs to pitch well. He needs to come in and dominate. Because San Fran's not a team, when you look at them, that really have stars. There are a bunch of players that are okay, and nothing great. So it is a series I think we can sweep. I'm not sure if we will, but we definitely have the talent. And I think all over we have the better matchup here.
Now, do you think something with Nola, it's the pitch clock? Because he just seems so uncomfortable with people on base with this pitch clock. Do you especially when somebody as fast as on base who can steal base, do you think it has something to do with along those lines where he's thinking too much, where he knows he can only go over 2 times, and he has a feeling like, oh, I need to make these pitches perfect, or I need to speed up. I can't be looking over here the whole time. I can't be doing this. I can't be doing that. Do you think it has something to do with that, where he's just not comfortable this season with people on base? Because when there's nobody on base, he looks fine. There's nothing there. It's as soon as somebody gets on base, and that's when the home run balls start eating up, and they're all multi-home runs. Is it something with the pitch clock that's really bothering him mentally that's making him uncomfortable?
This might be the first time I'll state this on air. I just don't think he's a good pitcher. I think he's a dude. I think he's a dude that I don't know what else to say, Chris. I don't know what else to say. He's a guy that I've defended, and I've defended a lot. I'm not one of those people that are, just because I'm a Philly guy, I'm going to defend. I really believed Nola could be an ace for this team. I don't think you finish once in the top 5, top 10 for Cy Young, you could have a fluke. You do it 3 times, you have the talent. I'm not buying the pitch clock. I can't. And I'm so tired of it, because you're a professional baseball player. I know but you have to adapt. It's the game. Do you think, I get it's going years back. Do you think basketball players were complaining when they introduced the 24-second shot clock? Yes, but they have to adapt and learn to do it. I'm so tired of, especially when I listen to the broadcast of the game, there's, Aaron Nola, pitch clock looks like, routing them already. You're a professional player in a contract year who just turned down over $100 million. That can't be your excuse. You have to fight through it. You're a guy that wants to get paid. You're a guy that's supposed to be an ace in this franchise. I think it's more mental, because he has so much up and down. I don't know if he's there mentally. I think he's got the talent. He just can't figure it out. And I think you see that a lot with players. It's some just can do it and be great players. He just can't figure it out, because it's really every other season is bad. And it doesn't make sense. And Chris asked kind of, when did it all go wrong? I don't know. This season, it looks really terrible. I think pitch clock may play a part in it, because I think he's in his head a lot. I think he's overthinking everything. And then, because the things like the home runs have always been there. He's always been up in the league lead of home runs. And yes, I get he strikes out a lot of players. The problem is, and it sounds moronic, he doesn't have a strikeout pitch. And I think everybody that watches him understands what I mean there. There's nothing he can get you out on. He has decent command. He can strike you out. But how many times have we seen this guy in an 0-2 count, give up a walk, give up a hit, give up a home run? It happens way too often. And I just don't know what it is with him.
So really quick, let me just hop in here. I'm sorry for my voice, guys. It's bad audio. But my issue is how come he's throwing 95, 96 miles per hour in the first inning, but come the fourth and fifth, you see that velocity down to 92, 93. What is it with losing 3 to 4 miles per hour off your fastball in 3 innings?
Is it because he pitched so much last season that he's still tired and he's never pitched that much?
It's
Is it something
unbelievable.
along?
It doesn't make sense to me. It just it doesn't. I mean, he pitched.
Because you got to think about, he's a guy who would fall apart in September every single year.
Yeah.
And was he falling apart because he's like, oh, we're out of the playoffs, I really don't care anymore. Like, we're out. And that's how the Septembers were in for his entire career until last year. So it wasn't that. And then like that's why he had a decent September last year. And then now he's just too tired. Like, and he can't go long in the games anymore. Is it something along those lines where he's just tired? And if you're Thompson, would you go up to him and suggest to him, hey, do you want to stint on the IL real quick? We'll give you your arm a break. Maybe that boosts his confidence up. Maybe he can sit there and think, watch video, watch other guys pitch or something along those lines, just to give him a break from the game. Just to, maybe if it is mental, maybe it's a huge mental thing. Maybe he just needs a 15-day break or something along those lines.
Maybe the issue is they just don't have anyone to replace him right now. I mean, I don't know.
You still have 5 guys. You still have 5 starters.
Yeah, they're going
You're pitching
6-man rotation right now.
Yeah, you're right. They're going 6 men now. Yeah.
I don't know if that helps. If you're a 9-year veteran at this point and you can't figure it out, if a pitch clock, you having to pitch a little bit faster is making you that bad, for me, you're not worth the money that you're asking for. Because if you're, and I get it, and I'm get ripped. Clayton Kershaw's not getting bothered. All these other, all these other great pitchers.
I mean, Scherzer is getting bothered. He's publicly said he hates his pitch clock, and he's having a bad. He had pitched 99 pitches.
Strider killing it. Like, come on, there's so many pitchers in this league. If you go look at the ERA in this league,
isn't it
so many other players?
Isn't it funny that the only pitchers that are really outwardly complaining are the veterans who are struggling this year?
Yeah, it's insane.
But a lot of them, Strider, he had a pitch clock the entire minor leagues when he was going through the minors, so he's already used to it. A lot of these guys are already, like, these younger guys are at least used to it because they had a pitch clock when they were going for it. I mean, Manoah in Toronto, I can actually see it because he took the longest to pitch last year. I can see why he's struggling, and he even came out and said, "I'm tired. Like I'm struggling because he's such a bigger guy. I'm struggling that I'm getting tired and out of breath while I'm pitching because I have to work so much faster."
Yeah, but John, they had all of spring training, and then they had he's 25 starts in.
Pitchers
you
are weirdos, man.
Adapt
Pitchers
or die.
Pitchers are weirdos.
You're right. I agree.
And Noah's one of the weirdest people too. Because
if you're telling me you want to be $100 million pitcher, you can't give me a pitch clock's going to bother me.
I agree. And then John, you bring up a great point too. I agree.
How many times would he get mad when somebody would be like, "Oh, we want to pitch you a day earlier, or we want to pitch you a day later"? He's like, "No, my day's to start this day. That's when I want to pitch." How many times would he get mad at that stuff? Where he wouldn't go the extra day of rest, or he wouldn't pitch on short days rest? How many times has that happened? Where he's like, I like the way I pitch, and now I can't do it.
Even with Max, I can attribute some of that. He's 39 years old. So let's not I get it. It's been the way. He's also a guy that could be losing it. And we don't know that, you're Aaron Nola turning down $100 million and you're coming in and banking on yourself. And especially after the season you had last year where you finished 4th in the Cy Young, I feel like he's never built off that great season. And to me, it's kind of like the Schwarber thing. Like, I hate Schwarber so much now, and a lot of people love him. They buy into the Kool-Aid of that one season, that one thing. He hits a home run, so we're going to love him. He can't do anything else. He's a one-tool player. And, all you hear is you want a 5-tool guy, even a 3-tool guy. He's a one-tool guy. That's all you're getting. Nothing else. And Aaron Nola really feels like he just can't figure it out. He's that, and Aaron Nola has nothing. Like, he had that one good season where he really dominated. Last year, I think he pitched well. I like to buy a lot into WHIP. I know some people don't. I buy a lot in the WHIP because his problem is he gives up too many home runs, though. I think he still leads the league in home runs.
His WHIP this year, he's top 5.
It is, for a fact. But he gives up too many. He just gives up the long ball, and he can't get guys out. He's definitely walking guys at a higher clip this year, but he's just not. He gives up too many home runs, and he can't get guys out, and it's insane. And I just part of it could be the pitch clock, but I think a lot more of it is mental with him. So it's just a struggle. But so going into that game in that series, you think we saw that, and then you finish up the week. You finish up the week with the St. Louis Cardinals, which should be a good matchup. You really thought going against Washington, we would take 2 or 3 there, but we have the Giants, and then we have 3 against St. Louis, which the pitchers aren't good. That team's really struggling. What are you thinking going in the series just against San Fran? We'll kind of start to wrap it up. Going against San Fran, like you said, we got Nola versus Alexander. Who did you say they were pitching on Tuesday? What rookie?
Kyle Harrison, left-hander.
Okay. And then we have T1 Walker. And then going in Wednesday night, Lorenzen versus Cobb, who Cobb isn't a bad pitcher. He's pitching a little bit worse this year.
I would compare him to like a Nola or Kyle Gibson. Like they're kind of like they'll get you deep in the games, but they're not superstars. Like you can score off. They shouldn't shut you down.
So looking, what do you think going against San Fran? How do you see the record playing out?
They have to score like 5-6 runs a game. I'm not expecting this pitching.
Really?
I don't expect maybe Walker, because Walker's been really reliable, but again, he's throwing like 89 miles an hour. But he's still going 7 innings. But that scares me a little. He's pitching 89 miles an hour. I mean, he's not striking guys out at a high rate. Sweep. I want to say sweep. But I don't even know how it's going to play out. You never know what team you're going to get at the end of the day. And I feel like it's always like this, like where on a Saturday you're sitting here Sunday you're sitting here trashing the team, and then they play 3 great games, and then like they're back, and then we're like, all right, we expect them to do good, and then come the weekend series, they're going to suck again on the weekend. I feel like it's always the weekend. They do good during the week, and then the weekend comes. That's when they just fall apart when it comes to the weekend.
I've been saying that all year. I'm so. They get you so wound up, and you feel like that they are going to really start taking off, because they'll give you that stretch where they're really going to win 4 in a row, sweep a series, and then they get this bad team. You get a team like the Nationals, who you're like, okay, we should have a great week. This should be a 4-1 week, and they take 2 or 3. I do see them coming out. I want to see them play well. I do think they have the potential to sweep. I think they'll probably lose. I'll give the Dean. They lose the Nola start this week. I can't see him. He just doesn't look good. I think Chris put it in the chat earlier. He hasn't gone really beyond 6 innings since July 23rd, almost a month. He can't get you out of the 5th, so it's tough.
Do you go 4 innings with them? Do you go?
I don't want to eat up the bullpen. I still don't want to eat up the bullpen. It's tough. And the problem is you need Nola to figure it out. For this team to win a championship, Nola has to be a bona fide number 2. For them to make a run like they did last year, he has to pitch like he did before his last start in San Diego and the 2 terrible ones in the World Series. He has to dominate. So he needs to come out of it. And I think this game, it's against a playoff team. Like you said, it's against a team that you might see in that first round of the wild card series. So if you can get that last impression of you coming in dominating, it helps jumpstart a season in August. I really wish it.
I mean, if I was Thompson, I would walk in tomorrow and sit them all down and say the playoffs start now. Every game from the rest of the year is a playoffs game, so act like it. And that's what it needs. They need to have that they need to have that attitude. I don't know if Thompson gets on their case about any of this stuff. Like, I mean, he played horrible this weekend. Besides last night, they played horrible this weekend. Pitching was not good. Offense sucked today. So they need to have a talking to, and it's something that Thompson sometimes needs to lay down the law, and I feel like he does not do that to this team.
I agree. He does feel like a player's manager. I'm a little worried about Lorenzen too, because I didn't expect him to be that bad, but you expect him to give up runs. He's a career 4 ERA guy. So this series does worry me. I think we take 2 or 3. I think you're right. I think it's going to have to be we're going to have to score runs to win this. So they really need the bats come alive. I really hope this moving Turner back to 2. I hope the bat stays hot. I hope he doesn't start thinking too much. It really seemed like that's what it was. And now that he's more loose, hopefully he stays playing that way. And I think we'll tell early He's hitting well, but I don't think he's going to stay 370. I think if he could just keep jumping that average up a point or two a week, I'm okay because that means he's hitting the ball. I think that's a good thing. Chris, you said sweep. Are you really saying sweep, Chris?
No, I think I'm definitely going 2 out of 3. I actually think they win tomorrow's Nola's start.
They do win for Nola. As bad as he's been all year, they do get him wins.
I'm not going to sit here and say, hey, I want 7 innings of 1-run ball every outing from Nola. Really, honestly, what this team needs is 6 innings, 4 hits, 2 runs. Like, that's it. Like, maybe 1 walk. Like,
I'll take 5 innings, 2 runs. I don't even need the 6 innings.
His strikeouts per 9 are down. His walks per 9 are up. Like, everything is going the opposite way for him this year. So you gotta just literally, this is like an inchworm thing here. Like, each start, I think, John, you called it. Topper, or Robert, as you say, has to walk into the clubhouse tomorrow and say, listen, boys, the postseason starts today, August 21st. The rest of the season, everything matters. And that's the way it has to be. They don't have a 10-game lead in the wild card. They just don't. The Braves are just going to keep winning, so who cares? But you don't have a 10-game lead here.
If the Phillies play the Braves tomorrow, they would win 2 of 3. I think they play down to their competition.
I feel like that's all they always do.
But I think that's also there's something wrong there. Because the Nationals aren't an awful baseball team. No, they're probably going to be.
In 2 years, they're going to be the best team in the division, in my opinion. I mean, I know the Braves are good, but in 2 years, they're going to be the guys they have. When Cruz gets up, who just got promoted to Double A today, when he gets up, I mean, he's going to be an absolute problem for the Phillies. And James Wood is just as good, and he's only 19 years old, 20 years old. They are going to be a problem for a long time to come. And it seems like Lane Thomas can play a little bit. And Abrams is now coming along, even though I was bashing him earlier in the season because I was like, you got this guy for Soto. This guy sucks. But, I mean, it seems like if they can get a couple arms, they are going to be a terrifying team in 2 years.
I just don't like – if you're not the Braves or the Dodgers, you shouldn't be playing down to anybody, like, at all. You're not this dominant team. You're just not. So to play down to your competition – I feel like this is something that the Phillies do every single – this is why we talk about why we hate playing the Marlins, because it's like we feel like they mail those games in. And I felt like and tonight's game, it's like, oh, okay, well, they clearly don't care. I know that's probably not the case, but when anybody ever says to me, play down to your competition, it pisses me off, and I can't stand it. And I hope it's never that way.
I
feel like it always has been.
Like it's always like that. They never play even when they sucked, the 10 years that they sucked, they would still go out and they would play so good against the good teams. And then when they play teams like those years with Kapler and then with Girardi, it felt like when they were going to play the Marlins or they were playing, who else were the other bad teams back then? I can't even remember who they were, but especially the Marlins where they would have the best record against.
Cole Hamels would never get wins. They played down, and a lot of it feels like if this guy's pitching today, we don't really need the offense to step up. We don't have to worry about it. It feels like they just go into the game thinking our pitching's going to handle it when the pitching's never handled it. I was just looking. The one crazy thing does this team feel like when we watch them, because I think we get more frustrated because we're fans. They're top 10 in ERA, in WHIP, in average, and batting average. They're a team that it looks like when you look at the stats, they feel like they should be a better team. Am I wrong? Because you can't be they're top 10 in almost every offensive and pitching category, but they're just not. They can't win.
I looked at it. I guess was it before the series started with Bleacher Report saying the Phillies had the best rotation in baseball. Like a Bleacher Report article said that the Phillies had the best rotation. Then I go look in the stats and I'm looking at it and I'm like, they have 5 guys who have under a 4 ERA. They've had plus Nola, who has a 4. God knows what his ERA is now, but he's above a 4. But they have 5 guys right now who are starting pitchers who have under a 4 ERA, and they have Kimbrel, who's kind of resurged this year, and he's been an unbelievable closer out of the pen, which is 3 years too soon when we were calling for it in 2020 for him to come for the Phillies to sign him in 2020 or in 2019, whenever that was. But they do have
Yeah, but you say
they
that
just don't.
when you look, you have Aaron Nole's a 4.58. T1's a 4.03. Like, I don't care if Zach Wheeler's a 3.7 this season. Like, you can't be an ace and what you've done and have a 3.7. They have nobody that can come in and shut down. And it just feels that way. It feels like they don't have their offensive. To me, it feels more like the bullpen's the one stepping up at this point, which early in the season, I feel like they're getting imploded. It just feels like these starters just can't get it done. And it's fit. I know we all wanted it at the deadline. I think a lot of us, I know I always said I would have been okay if they would have signed Verlander in the offseason. I would have been fine getting a lesser shortstop and going after a Verlander because I thought top end ace for this team was what they needed. When you look at, there's nobody you can trust to rely on.
I've always said they needed another player, and that's why I always go back and why JT bothers me is you have a catcher who makes $25 million and he hits 240. I don't care how good defensively he is. This guy's making $25 million. He should not be hitting 240. He should not be
upset with him.
But I mean, that's the problem. You don't pay him that money. You can pay a pitcher that money, and you can. I mean, look what the Astros do. They have a guy who hits 280 as a catcher, making $2 million, and Maldonado who's very reliable there. And then what do? They go out and get all these starting pitchers and pay all these guys.
Well, I think it's almost time to wrap it up. They did go 1-2 this week. This team does not feel 10 games over 500. I think that's where we are at the moment.
And I think that's what bothers us the most.
It really does, because they've played terribly early in the season, and they really got hot, and it just feels like now they're kind of now they're stuck. They're not getting worse. They're not improving. To me, I'd like to see them play a little bit better, but this is a big week. I think it's very important this week for us to come out and just play strong against the Giants. They need to take 2 or 3. A sweep would be great, but I really think coming in this week, it can tell a lot. You don't want to lose 2 or 3 to the Giants because you can't give up that ground.
What the Phillies really need to really up their spirits, I think they need a really good 5, 6, 7 game win streak. They really need to feel like what it's like to be on a real roll.
When was their last win streak? Like their legit last 5, 6, 7 game win streak. Was that in what, early July?
Maybe I can't recall, but when you get
June,
the end of August here against this kind of schedule, 6 or 7 in a row would really be great.
And that's the thing. Like I thought they'd been playing a lot better too with the competition that they had. They weren't playing they weren't playing great teams these last 15 games or so. So I was expecting a lot better out of them and maybe a couple of sweeps, that we didn't get any of that.
No, it's been a lot of, I think the longest one they had since the break was a 4-game win streak right after the break, taking 3 against San Diego and 1 against Milwaukee. But like we said earlier, they do that and then they lose 4 in a row. Then they win 1, they lose 1. You win 2, you lose 2. They're just staying too pat. And I think Chris is absolutely right. They do need to go on that heater that just really gets you in contention because to me, I would love to at least be in the position come the end of September. I don't know I think it probably rolls over into October this year, to where you though can kind of set your rotation up for the playoffs. I think that's important. That's where a lot of people early in the season that bashed us. And for me, just we're okay with the Phillies saying it's early. It's early. No, it's not. Now we're seeing throw them the heater. We're seeing these games are now super important where you're losing the teams early that you shouldn't have been. So I think Chris is absolutely right. That 6-7 game win streak would really start separating us from some of the pack and really get us set up great going down that stretch run. Getting a guy, like you said, like a Nola, you can give him a week off, give him, rest him a start, try to get his head right for the playoffs. Maybe because I do think what you said earlier, the fatigue factor can play a lot into this. I think with a lot of the starters, none of these guys have ever been in a playoff run, let alone going to the World Series. So all extra that's involved can really if you're not used to it, I guess it can do wear and tear on you. But I really do believe this game, right now, it's a series at a time. It's a game at a time. For guys like Schwarber, it's not that bad at a time. Always able to take a shot at that guy. But they just have to keep playing. And I think it starts this week. I think the Varsity Blues, one game for the rest of your life. That's how they really have to play it the rest of the season, because they have an opportunity that you're not always going to get. These players are getting older. You don't want to waste another year. And I think it starts this week. You need to start winning this week.
Yeah, I just looked at their next 9 games, and I expect them to go 7-2. I mean, you got San Francisco. I can see them only going to get 2 or 3, but I expect this at least a sweep against the Cardinals, who kind of just gave up at this point. And then now the Angels, even though they bought at the deadline, it seems like they've just given up calling up their first round pick this year already. So they kind of just gave up at that point. You have 2 teams that are completely out of it at this point. So they need 7-2 in these next 9 games is really big. And if they can do that, then they can do some damage. And I think that if they go 7-2, they'll be in a good position. They'll be 5 or 6 games above the Giants for that wild card spot.
I'm in agreement with both you guys. I think we could definitely we need the win streak. Let's start it here. Let's start it in San Fran. Let's get this series. Let's get it rolling. Get back to positive vibes, because I still believe we're making that run, and it starts here. And we want to just we thank you guys for watching another episode of Ring the Bell. We really appreciate you guys. Like Chris says every week, please go give us a like, go give us a follow on the Instagram, on the Twitter, on the Facebook. He says something about algorithms, liking the show, does some great things to get our podcast on. If you like it on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, algorithms put us to the top. Do I know what that means? No, I'm not a tech guy. Chris does all that, but I'm just doing what he typically says. And my version's better, is what I believe. But yeah, go give us a like, 1-star, 5-star. Anything you guys could do would be great for us. We really appreciate you guys. We love you. And like Chris said, has been saying last week, keep an eye out on all of the socials. We do have some merch that's going to be dropping soon. Please keep a lookout. Once it's out, we're going to post it all there for you guys. We got some banger stuff coming out. I cannot wait. We're really excited. Thank you. Let's go, Phils. Let's get the sweep. Ring it, baby.